Okay, as mentioned in class, I created this video to help show you guys how to calculate a rate of interest on a business loan. So we're going to go ahead and go through a few examples to teach you that. The first thing would be just to get a basic definition out of the way. So an interest rate is basically the cost of borrowing money from a bank or from someone else, and you probably already know that. We also have this term called the annual percentage rate, which is essentially the same thing. It's the annual rate charged for borrowing, and it's expressed as a percentage. So if you ever see the term annual percentage rate, think interest rate, because that's essentially what it means. It's the interest that is being charged on a loan. In order to calculate how much you're going to have to pay in interest, depending on what amount of money you take out, we need to learn about a formula. Okay? The formula is the following. A equals P, 1 plus R, and then T is an exponent to the T power. And so let's go ahead and figure out what all that means. A is going to be your final answer. That's what you're solving for. So in this case, A represents the total cost of the loan, including all of the interest that you will have to pay back to the bank or whoever you're getting the loan from. P represents the initial amount of the loan. So this is the amount that you borrow from the bank without interest. R is going to be your interest rate, and in this equation it is very important to express it as a decimal. Okay? If you do not express your interest rate as a decimal, your answer is going to be way, way off. So I will show you guys, if you don't know already, how to convert a percentage to a decimal in a little bit. And then T is equal to the amount of time. Typically this is going to be in years. Sometimes interest can be calculated in months, but for these examples here we're pretty much going to assume that we're paying it off in a certain amount of years. So here's an example. Okay, John applies for a $100,000 loan from a bank, and he is approved for his business loan. The bank is requiring him to pay 8% interest, and he must pay the loan back in 10 years. So our job, what we want to do, is we want to find out what the total cost of the loan would be, including the interest payments. This would give us the most accurate indicator of how much money we're actually going to have to pay back to the bank. Because as you're going to see, it's going to be much more than the $100,000 that John is borrowing. So to set up our equation, we would plug in what we know. $100,000 is the initial amount of the loan, so that goes for P. We know that we're paying it off in 10 years, so 10 is going to be our exponent. Now our interest rate is 8%, but remember down here, we have to express our interest rate as a decimal. Some of you may already know how to do this, which is great. If you don't, I'm going to show you guys how to do that really quick right now. Essentially, if you want to convert a percentage to a decimal, you have to move the decimal point 2 places to the left. What you're essentially doing is you're taking your 8% and you're dividing by 100. So you could go to your calculator and just do 8 divided by 100. That's another way to do it, but all you really have to do is move the decimal places 2 to the left. So if we have our 8%, we're just going to move it from here and go 1, 2, and we put our new decimal here. And what we're going to do in this empty space is we're going to fill in the 0. So basically, 8% converted to a decimal is 0.08. So as we're going to see below, 0.08 is going to go here in our equation. And again, very, very important that you always remember to convert your interest rate to a decimal. So here's our starting equation. Now another thing that some of you may be familiar with is the order of operations. What do we have to do first in this equation? If you're not familiar, I believe the phrase is, "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally." At least that's what my math teacher taught me. But it's an acronym. P meaning parentheses, so parentheses have to be solved first. E meaning exponents go next, and so on and so forth. So for this equation, we have to solve what's in our parentheses first. That's going to be some simple math. 1 plus 8 equals 1.08. Now, another common mistake that students make, the first mistake being to forget to convert the percentage to a decimal. Sometimes we don't know how to use this exponent or how to calculate it, okay? 1.08 to the 10th power does not mean that we're taking 1.08 and we're multiplying it by 10. What this means is that we are multiplying 1.08 to itself 10 times. Okay, so this is what it would look like if we wrote it out, but let's go ahead and plug it into our calculator. And again, if you know how to do this, that's great. But if you don't, here's what you do. You'll find something similar on your calculator, I would assume. There should be this button right here, x to the y power. If you click on that, you'll get this caret mark, and that means that you're now taking an exponent. So 1.08 to the 10th power, you see that we get this number right here. You can do one of two things. You can keep this entire number and then multiply it by 100,000, or you can round this number to the nearest hundredth. So in this case, 5 is in the hundredth spot, and we would round this to 2.16 because 8 is greater than 5. Choice is yours. In this case, I believe I rounded the number to 2.16, and therefore our last step is to multiply 2.16 times 100,000. So in the end, after paying this loan off in 10 years at an 8% interest rate, John will actually end up paying $216,000 back to the bank. So that's a pretty hefty profit for the bank. It's over double the amount of what John borrowed. That's how banks make their money. Okay, I have one practice problem down here for you that I'd like you to take a quick shot at. Go ahead and pause the video, set this up on your own, see what answer you come up with, and then go ahead and check your work. Okay, so in this case, Jenny is taking out a loan for $25,000. She's being charged an interest rate of 6.5%, and she must pay back the loan in 5 years. So we would set up the equation like this. Remember, convert your percent to a decimal. So 6.5 divided by 100 in your calculator, or move your decimal places 2 to the left. So we're going to have a 0 right here, 0.065, and then to the 5th power. We add our parentheses first, and then we're going to take 1.065 to the 5th power. We're multiplying it by itself 5 times. If we did that in the calculator, we should get the following. $1.27. Actually, I think, let me, 1 second, I think I forgot the 5. There we go, 1.37, that's my fault. I forgot to enter the 5 there. So 1.065 to the 5th power is 1.37. And then we're going to take that and multiply it by the $25,000 to get a total cost in the end of $34,250. So hopefully this video helped show you how to calculate interest. The next thing we're going to do is an assignment with some practice problems. Please make sure that you ask me for help if you're getting lost. Okay? So go ahead and work on that worksheet and let me know if you have any questions.